It is a consistent effort. It is a deliberate effort. That is another point. People think that personal branding is like it's like an accident, it happens by a miracle, and some people are born for it. No, it is a deliberate, it is an intentional effort that you have to take. It is an intentional effort. And I've heard so many people say that whether you are being intentional about branding or not, you are branding. And that is why you rather be more intentional and deliberate about the effort. Madam Violet, I hope you're getting the point. Let me go on. What you think of yourself matters. I don't know about other African countries, but in Ghana here, when you're born and they're raising you up, people expect you to be very moderate and humble in the way you do things. So you see a lot of Ghanaians say that, oh, come on, I don't want to blow my own horn. So when somebody can do something, they don't even want to talk about it. That mindset of that false humility would send so many talented young people to their grave without being heard in the world because they have covered the abilities and the skills they have. But I don't want that to be you. And that is why you have to let go of that mindset and put on this cap of personal branding to make sure that the value that you have brought into this world, people will hear of it. What you become is more important than what you do. Work on your reputation and perception. Work on your reputation and perception. Look, life is a perception game. Ladies and gentlemen, life is a what? A perception game. And please, the fact that I'm talking about personal branding does not mean that you should go and live a fake life or you should go and do something that it's not real to you. All I'm trying to say is be very deliberate in how you present yourself to the marketplace. Life is a perception game. It's a reputation game. And when people see you, they relate with you based on the perception they have gathered about you. That is it. That is it. People would relate with you based on the perception gathered about you. When people see you, they scan you, they listen to you, they interact with you based on your actions, your words, and everything you do. They form a perception about you. And you need to be very deliberate with that. Your personal brand is that unique experience that people get when they come in touch with you. And that is why you have supposed to take your reputation very seriously. You have to take your outlook very seriously. That sends me to my next point. Do a SWOT analysis of your life. Focus on your strengths and opportunities and work on minimizing your weaknesses and eliminate threats. See your life as a business. See your life as what? A business. The bottom line is you want to be able to get some form of reward as somebody who is intentionally branding themselves. So everybody here today, I need you to do a SWOT analysis, and we are going to do it together. Okay? We are going to do a SWOT analysis. Those of you who have been to business school might have heard this word before. S stands for strength. W stands for weaknesses, O opportunities, and then T threats. Mostly any business that wants to do any strategy at all, they do this SWOT analysis. And that is what you are supposed to do for yourself as an individual. You are supposed to know yourself, know who you are, so that you can be able to leverage on your strength. Know how to mitigate your weaknesses. Know the opportunities available to you, Daniel. And then know threats. Know the things that can pose a threat to your life so that you can dodge them as possible as you can. Look, nobody is born with nothing. Nobody is a non-entity. Everybody has a strength. Everybody has a strength. And that is why you're supposed to Write down all the strength you have. Are you a very good communicator? Are you a very good artist? Are you a very good designer? Are you very good at people relationship? Are you very good at mathematics? Write everything down. Your weaknesses, don't lie. You cannot be perfect at everything. Even Elon Musk has his weaknesses. Everybody, every good person you see, everybody you know about today has a weakness. And you as a person, you have yours too. So I would need you also, David, to have your weaknesses well outlined so that you can know how to mitigate them to make sure that they don't work against you. Now, in this personal branding process, knowing this or doing this SWOT analysis of yourself helps you to know which of your skills you should focus more as a person. To know which of your skills to focus more. Now, the next point, and I'm getting close to my presentation. A closed mouth is never fed. Think of any great person you admire. They are very great communicators. After realizing your value, after doing all this SWOT analysis, after adding value to yourself and knowing that, hey, I'm a very good mathematician, or I'm very good at data analysis, I'm very good at this, I'm very good at that, okay? You need to communicate that value to people. And that is not being proud. I want you to take that out of your mind. And in these recent times, social media has become a leveler for all of us. It has given all of us the same platform to make sure that we could be able to do something for ourselves. Gone are the days where without you being invited, nobody hears your voice. But look, if you're very good at presenting, if you're very good at marketing, if you're very good at anything at all, and nobody is giving you an opportunity, your social media platforms are your audition grounds, where you can, just by setting up a social media account, you can start propagating and communicating your value to the people that matter. Look, in the beginning, people might act as if they are not listening to you. But with time, once you are being consistent about communicating your value, documenting your life, communicating all the certifications, the award, the skills you have, the relationship you are building with time, people will gravitate towards you, people that are meant to be in your life. Please, let me say another thing. Everybody here today, the good news is there is somebody looking for you. There is somebody somewhere who is looking for you. The world is bigger than your WhatsApp status. The world is bigger than that. And that is why I always advocate for you being on multiple platforms on social media, because it is a medium by which you can be able to reach people who are looking for you. After doing all the value addition, after doing all the SWOT analysis, after you have become very valuable, how do you make sure that people get to see you? How do you make sure that people get to see who you are? By communicating your value on these platforms consistently. By communicating your value on these platforms consistently. It is not pride to communicate who you are. It is not arrogance to communicate who you are. It is people who do not understand the meaning and the use of social media that think that communicating your value and letting people know about who you are is pride, and you are being arrogant. So many people might die and leave this world without affecting the world. People who are meant to change the world because they kept quiet about what they can offer the world. Do not be quiet from today. Communicate your value. Use storytelling to communicate your value over time. When people are not ready, just keep going. And before you realize, you have touched the people, that you have made yourself findable by the people that are meant to see you. Let me go on. Let me repeat this one more time, because I believe in the power of the mind and making sure that, see, everything we do today is a result of somebody's thinking. And I want everybody here today, as you pursue your personal branding journey, to be very positive about your life. Be very, very positive. Let the energy you put into the world be very, 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 very positive. Believe that the best is always going to happen to you. And that affects the way you relate with people. That affects the way you do your work. That affects the way you do things. And people can feel that. Personal branding is beyond the dressing. It is also important. Look good, because people will judge you by the way you look. Books are judged by their cover. Even though people say, do not judge a book by its cover. It is only God who looks in our hearts. Human beings judge from appearance. All those things are the very surface of personal branding. But beyond that, beyond the looks and the first impressions, your mind has to be, look, there is no way I can ever think a negative. I've come to a place where I know that the end is good, and that is how I'm going to approach life. And that is why when I see somebody in person, when I see Abe, when I see Alfred, when I see Juanita, when I see Praise, when I see Seth, I come to you with knowing that, hey, I'm going to be a blessing to you. It affects the way you feel on the person. And that is all part of the personal branding issue. Ladies and gentlemen, if you can say this and read this along with me, even with your mics muted, that is totally fine. But let's start. Who are you? I am capable of achieving my goals. I embrace change and welcome new opportunities. I radiate positivity and attract good things into my life. I am in control of my thoughts and emotions. I am grateful for the abundance in my life. I trust in my ability to overcome challenges. I am a constant work in progress, and that is okay. I choose happiness and inner peace. I am enough just as I am. I am enough just as I am. I am enough just as I am. There are so many of you here, you feel like you are not enough. You need some external validation to make sure that you show up. But I'm here to remind you that you are just enough. Everything you need to be that great individual is already in you, and you have to mine it out. It is from inside out. You don't do life from outside in. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Edward Asari, and thank you so much for listening to me.
Thank you so much, Edward. This was such an insightful session. Many of you do not know this, but I met Mr. Edward about 2 years ago to 3 when I was on a self-discovery myself. I was posting a lot on LinkedIn and I got to meet him. I was also feeling very down. I wasn't sure who I was. I was struggling with self-identity. And it's amazing that today I joined him on a panel and we worked together on a project. I never saw it coming. And he is a living proof of branding and being able to see the value you offer to the world. I know a lot of you have so many questions you want to ask. You have questions you want to ask Mr. Edward. And if you do, just type it in the chat box. We will pick it up. And after all the presentations are done, we will forward it to him to give you all the answers you need. You can also connect with him on all social media platforms. Now, to our next guest, Honorable Nadia Abdallah. Thank you again, Mr. Edward. Honorable Nadia Abdallah. Moving away from personal branding, I would love us to touch on leadership styles. Who is a leader? How do we know we are leaders? And how do we understand the type of styles we fall in when it comes to leadership? Could you please share some insights on that for our listeners to know where they stand? Are they leaders? Can they be leaders? And what it entails? Honorable Nadia, if you are here, would like to hear from you.
Yes, I am here. Thank you very much. Great presentation, Edward. Hello, everyone. My name is Nadia, Honorable, or you can just call me Nadia Abdallah. I am Kenyan, and I'm very happy to be here. Apologies if I speak and maybe stop for some moments because I'm currently very, very sick. But I couldn't miss this. I can't miss it because, you know, these are young people. I love the concept of the foundation, and it's really what I do in my life. So you asked me quite a lot of questions, Juanita. I don't have a presentation. I usually speak off the cuff. And so who is a leader? In my own point of view, a leader is anybody who is willing A leader is anybody who's willing to really take the stand and do something beyond their own selfish needs. In my opinion, that is what a leader is. Because when you take the stand to be a leader, number one is that you're never first. It's always what people's wants. So when I say people, it depends on the type of demographic you are targeting, either in the political space, in the corporate space, in the entrepreneurial space, digital space, whatever space it is in. The moment you decide to be a leader, you come second. And it's the true fact. I know a lot of people say you have to put yourself first and everything. Yes, you do, on your private space, on your private time. But when you take up that stance as being a leader, as trying to help people, as trying to be the voice of change, the voice of reason, people come first before yourself. Now, how does one cultivate their leadership style, or how does one just come out of it? I usually tell people there's no one right answer to it. But there definitely is ways in which you can do it. And number one, what you can do first is you have to first work on yourself. Now, I come back to that. You have to work on yourself in the sense that, do you want to be a leader so that you can fill in your pockets? Do you want to be a leader so that you can bring in change or inspire change? Or do you want to be a leader because you feel like or believe it is a calling? And when I talk about calling, I mean, is it because leadership somewhat is very spiritual, because you have to really put yourself and involve yourself with a lot of people, involve yourself with a lot of things, articulate matters well. So number one, you have to work on yourself. Identify what you want, identify what makes you happy, and ask yourself the tough question, which is, to what extent do I want to be here as a leader? Now, number two, to help you cultivate the leader in you, you have to be vocal. Now, I love how Mr. Edward talked about, personal branding. You actually have to be local because vocal, not local, sorry, vocal, because you have to be willing to speak out. And when you're speaking out, you have to be willing to speak out your mind. You have to be willing to speak out other people's minds. But at the same time, you have to be willing to step on people's toes. You cannot be a leader and be liked by everyone. That is now my number three. If you want to cultivate being a leader, you have to be willing and ready to know that not everyone's going to like you, and that's okay. Because at the end of the day, leaders are not in the business to be liked. Leaders are in the business to either help communities, amplify voices, or just transform change. Now, can anyone be a leader? Yes, they can. Are there any steps in which you need? No, there are no steps, but you can be a leader based on your own interest. Now, what type of leader do you want to be? Do you want to be a local leader? Do you want to be a global leader? Do you want to be a household leader? There's a lot of ways in which you can be a leader. I know a lot of people think politicians are the only people who are leaders, but no. A good example is myself. I was never a politician. I still tell people I'm not a politician. It is because of the fact that I was a very vocal young person, and of the fact that I am very obsessed with my personal brand. And I say I'm very obsessed because I'm very calculative with what I do, because I have a certain idea on how people need to receive me, see me, and receive what I have to offer. And so that is how I ended up being appointed. It was because I was using my social media platform to vocalize what I believed in. I identified the niche, and the niche was, I come from a minority community in my country, and I knew that not a lot of us are out there, especially women. And I knew that I wanted to work my way around to be able to address issues that affect women and youth in my society. Now, did I have the idea of being in government? No, my idea was just to get known. And so the only way I could get known is for me to build on my brand. So I built on my brand on the fact that I was identified as a vocal person, I was identified as a mental health activist, and I was identified as a very assertive young lady. Now, why have I mentioned assertive a lot? Is because if you want to be seen as a serious leader, You need to know how to articulate everything that you believe in properly. We live in a world where right now everyone is busy. We live in a world where we consume so much on the internet, we consume so much visuals. People have no time to read or listen to a lot of things. So when you put yourself out there, you have to have this at the back of your mind that if I'm going to speak to somebody, I should make sure in 60 seconds, I have at least said something that sets me apart from everyone else. Now, that is one of the secrets in how you can now be a leader. Look for that thing inside yourself or within yourself that will set you apart from everyone else. Unfortunately, the problem we have right now with a lot of young leaders is that everyone wants to copy somebody else. It's good to admire, it's good to wish, but it's not good to copy. So you admire your fellow leaders, that's fine. You would like to be as vocal as them, that's fine. How can you use yourself? If you are Solomon or Aminata, or Daniel, how can you use yourself as a person to now set yourself apart from everyone else? So it really does require a lot of work. The other thing that a lot of you need to understand is that being a leader isn't something that you wake up one morning and it happens. A lot of people that you see online, even the people, I believe everyone here is a leader, all of us, you have a story that sets you apart, a story that inspires you, a story that amplifies your voices. So I would advise that you use that story to tell your African story that will set you apart from everyone else. And I know that can be complicated, but it's very simple because just like our 5 fingers, they're all different, right? So each of us come from different backgrounds. Each of us have different struggles that we faced, and each of us have different ones. So if you want to be a leader today in a local community right now, look at the things that are already being done and the things that are not yet done, and pick something that is to your own capability. A big problem with young people is that we tend to go for things that we know for a fact that we have to bend our backs to doing. Sometimes you can solve the most basic problem, and that particular problem can open 10 doors for you to get in somewhere. Another thing I want to refer to Mr. Edward that he said is that, he talked about like a closed mouth you don't get fed, yeah? Yeah. In today's world, if you don't blow your own horn, you're not going to go anywhere. So I'm Kenyan, and I can tell you for a fact that as Kenyans, we sell ourselves like this. We see an opportunity, we jump on it. We don't have this thing of just staying, taking a step back and trying to say, no, we don't want to blow our own trumpet. No. In this world today, if you want to be a leader in any sector, in any place, you have to blow your own trumpet. And it doesn't matter whether you've achieved something small, or even if you've not achieved anything. The fact that you're able to really speak about yourself and you're brave enough to go, to somebody and speak to them, that enough is going to open doors for you. So leadership styles really has a lot to do with who you are. I'll tell you that. If you want to identify your own leadership style, stop trying to copy other people. Start trying to understand yourself. Start trying to identify what actually makes your blood run so fast. Start identifying what makes you happy as well when you solve it. Start doing that. And sometimes you'll find out that most of us, we have been leaders from a very young age, whether it's university, whether it's high school, whether it's primary, even in school. I was, from the age of 13, I was known as a noisemaker. I was known as a nuisance. My late mom was always told you have to hold her. And then what happened later is that they found out I was really, not that I was a noisemaker, but I was actually a leader within myself. And it had to take somebody else, I would say 15 years later, to kind of identify and see, oh, she is actually a leader. So leadership styles are drawn from you. And young people need to start working on themselves, start identifying. And I do understand, let me just bring this up a bit. I do understand we all come from different backgrounds. I do understand we all come from different challenges. We have socioeconomic challenges. We have financial challenges. You know, we have different challenges that we face, especially on the continent. But I do believe sometimes we have to silence the noise. And when I talk about the noise, I mean the challenges, and try to ask yourself one question. If today the opportunity came to you and you had 60 seconds to really just tap into it, are you ready to actually occupy that opportunity and elevate your life to a better place? Ask yourself that. And if you don't have an answer to that, that means you need to go back to the drawing board and cultivate something out of it. And there's no linear, there's no linear scale when it comes to leadership. Yeah. I was a leader for 3 years. Now I wouldn't say I'm a leader anymore. I would say like I've just taken a step back. Now I'm more of, I advocate, and I've even gone quiet. My life is very quiet right now. Why? Because I'm in the season of just being me. So leaders also have seasons. So if you're in university, an example, yeah, in university, maybe you're a campus leader, or you aspire to be a campus leader and you tried for elections and you didn't get it, don't despair. It's a season. You might not be, like, it might not come from you that you're a leader in university, but you'll be a leader somewhere else. And so I just want to say, like, don't put too much pressure on yourselves, yeah, to like, are there leadership styles? How can I get it? No. Anything you do is already a step forward to being a leader. For the ladies, even the fact that because I love cooking, I'll tell you that. I love cooking. And a lot of people are like, oh, don't look like somebody who can cook. But I can cook. And I feel like when I'm in the kitchen, I take the step to be a leader in the kitchen and lead. My brother likes writing, but he also likes cooking and playing games. I play tennis. So everywhere you are, you're already taking a leadership role to do something. You're in university, that's already a leadership role, to finish university, to be the best. But just pay attention to yourself and work on yourself, guys. I'm going to tell you that again. I'm going to emphasize, work on yourselves, because you only have yourself to build, to grow, and to advance to the next level. No matter how many opportunities come your way, no matter how many leadership opportunities come your way, if you're not prepared and if you don't work on yourself, there's nothing that you're gaining out of it. You're actually at a loss than a gain. And there's no hurry. There's time. And, just be, at the end of the day, I tell people vibe through it. I'm a 21st century leader. I'll tell you that. I don't put too much pressure on myself. If I want something, I go for it. I speak about it, I pray about it, and I work towards it. But if something doesn't work for me, I take a step back. I cry if I need to, because I'm a crybaby. I cry if I need to, and then I reflect. And one of the most powerful leaders in the world are those who self-reflect and go out there and try again. So which type of leader are you? Thank you, Anita.
Which type of leader are you? Thank you so much, Honorable Nadia. What you've shared with us is a lot for me as a young person. I'm also going to figure out which type of leader I am and blow my own horn once in a while. I know a lot of you are trying to figure out. If you have any questions from Honorable Nadia, she has just a few minutes with us. She has another engagement that's quite prioritized that she needs to go to, and she's not feeling well as well. So I'll just throw a few questions to her, and then she would be allowed to excuse us for today. Honorable Nadia, just before you leave, I have a question for you, and I know our participants also have a few. But for me personally, my question is, what role does self-awareness play in effective leadership? At what point does a person reach to say, oh, wow, I'm a leader in this? or this is my field, this is what I'm called to be, I can do this? Is there a stage or a process that they have to go through to reach the point? Because people are actually wondering, I don't have a job, I don't have anything to share with the world. My LinkedIn is empty. My social media page is empty. I am also learning how to brand myself, just like Edward said. What should they look out for with self-awareness, and what role does it play in leadership?
So self-awareness plays a big role when it comes to leadership. Actually, it takes 98% of the space, because if you're not self-aware, what happens is when you get into different leadership spaces or roles, you will tend to forget where you come from. So you have to really be like, you have to make self-awareness as your mantle, as your guiding torch towards everything. I would say sometimes self-awareness also brings itself out when you face challenges, because a lot of times, when you're going up, sometimes it's not a slippery slope. It's very simple. When you're going up, you either go up very fast or you actually have hurdles. So the more challenges you face, the more you identify that this is the type of person I am, or this is the type of person I'm not.
Yeah.
And sometimes, yes, your LinkedIn is empty, maybe your Instagram, maybe this, maybe that, all these things are empty. What should you do? Should you give up? I would say you should just keep going, because you are already aware of the fact that there is no engagement. You are aware of the fact that you're having a challenge to secure a job, or you're having a challenge to even get whatever it is that you have to say to be heard. And so what you just need to do is you just have to, as I said, take steps back and try to reflect. And that's where the self-awareness comes in. Because the moment you say, you know what, I think I need to take a few steps back and recalibrate myself, replan, and maybe ask myself the hard questions. Is this really what I need to do? Because also the other thing is, sometimes maybe you're not meant to be a leader. See, the difference is anyone can be a leader, but sometimes you might not be that anyone. You just might be someone who actually helps other leaders elevate. Like what I found out when I was in government is that I am the great leader. Like I am able to advocate, articulate, and everything. But I had a whole team behind me who were the ones who were making me shine. They were the technical people, they were the executive assistants, they were the branding people, they were the marketing people. These were people. So sometimes you might belong to these technical people, and that's very much okay. And how you have to identify that is when you constantly find yourself facing a hurdle, or you find yourself facing something, a blockage. Because sometimes blocks happen, and we have to reflect on that and try to find out what it is. But unfortunately, we are not in that type of world, because everyone feels like, if I want to do this, I have to do it. I have to get it. But sometimes you just don't have to. And that itself is self-awareness.
Thank you so much. I have 2 more questions to give you before you leave. I believe some of our listeners had a question here. From Anna Hansen, he said, I am a university GC student. How may I prepare myself for the outside challenges and opportunities? He'd asked that you please answer his question if you understood it clearly. Yes.
Yeah. Let me tell you, I don't think there is a one-way answer to that. Because I've been there. When you're almost done, I'm guessing, that's university, right? You're done with school. You'll be told, you know what, get your CV ready. Maybe get yourself an internship, maybe this, maybe that. But hey, the truth of the matter is, no one is prepared for what to see outside. But what you can do is you can find and identify what is the one thing that is value addition to you. What is that one skill beyond university skills, that the skills that you attained in university? Beyond that, what other skill can you use that can be a value addition to yourself, but can also be a value addition to an institution? Because sometimes you might go out there and let's say you want to be a lawyer, right? And sometimes maybe that you don't get that internship or you don't get that job. So let's say in that firm, because you really want to work in that firm or other firms, what else can you offer to them? It might not be being a lawyer, it might be something else. So I would advise is that now get technical skills while you're job searching. LinkedIn has free tools that you can acquire. Google has free tools that you can acquire. Microsoft offers free tools. At the moment, digital skills are one of the greatest skills you can have in the 21st century because everything these days is remotely. So you can be working remotely while still looking for that job that you want. You can be searching for that job that you want, and maybe you can be copywriting or transcribing, or maybe you're good at maybe what's the I wanted to say Akan language, I think.
The tree,
Maybe
I can,
I don't know why Twi. That's the one thing that
Yes.
comes to my mind. Maybe you're good at Twi, and there's a company that wants a translator to help them transcribe their articles or everything. So I would tell you how you prepare is by having an extra skill that will get you that extra money and that would give you that side hustle while you look for other things to do. Or it could be even selling, like at the moment, I'm the director for Africa Communications for an NGO, an international NGO in the US. But I can tell you on the side, I sell our traditional clothes, and I also sell some Bunsen burners and stuff. So yeah, but at the same time, I write and I speak and I charge people. So guys, have side hustles and have extra skills that you can use.
Yes, so she charges people to speak. So if you can speak, just know you have value and you can benefit from that as well. Honorable Nadia, I know you're in a rush to leave, but I have a personal question I would like to throw to you. And I know a lot of you have many more questions. Kindly connect to her on Instagram, LinkedIn. If you have any questions, you can send her an email as well, and she'll be more than willing to answer that for you. Honorable Nadia, my question is, as a leader, and also being a woman in this economy and in the world, there are a lot of challenges that I face being a young, vocal woman, a woman that knows who she is and what she is about. How does the role of the people around you affect your belief on what you carry? Say your family, your friends, your colleagues, they don't seem to believe in what you carry. They don't support you. They don't think you are who you say you are. How does that affect your role in becoming the leader that you feel inside of you that you are?
It does not affect me at all. I'll tell you that, and I'll tell you why. When I was young, I used to really care about what people thought of me. I used to care about what people said about me. At some point, I got bullied because when I was young, at some point I was chubby. I've never been a very slim girl, and I got bullied because of that, and that kind of affected my confidence, and it affected my level of just being assertive. But as I grew older, and I remember very well, I was in university, and I realized that the ability and the strength lies within myself. I made a pact with myself to always ignore what people have to say about me because they are not me. They don't wake up like me. They don't eat like me. They don't quack like me. They don't even do things like me. And that's not to say that sometimes people's ideas or people's comments wouldn't affect me. That was then. It's just to say that you have to work on yourself to a level that you understand that God has given you that dream. He has given you that ability, and he has given you that vision. Now, people will come and try to bestow their own vision onto you. They'll try to convince you that you are not that person. But you have to be able to get to a place where you're like, that is not me. You can say, doubt me, do anything, but I'm focusing on my grind. So what I do, I focus on what I need to do. And I love it when people actually second guess me, because I'm like, yeah, watch out. I'm going to do something. But where I am right now, and I think after like experiencing working in government, I really don't care what people have to say about me. People have said a lot of things to the point that I sometimes laugh and I'm like, really? But then people will still come back and say, we are so proud of you because of what you've done. So focus on you, Anita, and any other young lady, even gentlemen out here. Focus on yourself. Be in yourself so much to the point that when someone says, did you hear this about you? Be like, oh my God. No, but I don't care.
So much, Honorable Nadia. And we have viewers from YouTube, Facebook. They are all watching us live and they're being interactive as well. I know that those of you on YouTube are eager to have your question answered because all of us on Zoom are getting it. There's one question. He's a question from YouTube, Mfali. He said, I have a question. Are we all born leaders, or are there specific people who are selected to be followers? The same way that some people are born to be brave, others are truthful, and what others believe in, I assume. So I believe he wants to know if you are born with it or you can become it, or maybe you're born to just be a follower.
I think there are three categories of people. They're leaders, they're followers, and they're amplifiers. The leaders are the ones who actually take what the followers are saying and use what the amplifiers have done to really amplify what they get. Now, how do you know if you're a leader or a follower or an amplifier? You don't know until you try out being one.
Yeah.
There are people who I know have tried out to be leaders, but then they found themselves being better at amplifying ideas and being better at following other people with their own questions. And so I would say, give it a shot. What's the worst that can happen? You fail. But when you fail, it's not like you're losing a limb. When you fail, you've just failed and you've earned new lessons. And so give it a try. You want to be a leader, give it a try in your own capability, in your own capacity. What type, again, I'm going to repeat this. What type of leader are you? Because not everyone, again, is supposed to be a global leader or a local leader or a national leader. Sometimes you're just meant to lead your home, and that's okay. Sometimes you're meant to lead your community, and that's okay. And sometimes you're meant to lead your village, but sometimes you're meant to lead the world, and that's also okay. But try to work. It's a 360 work that you need to do on yourself, for yourself, and by yourself in order for you to identify which of the three you are.
Thank you, Honorable Nadia. This was a lovely session. The questions are just trooping in, more and more and more and more coming. And as I said before, Honorable Nadia has a very prioritized engagement she has to leave for. She's also not feeling well. We thank you so much for making time with us, even though you have a cold. And I know everyone learned a lot from the session with you. We have more on the session, so please hold on. Honorable Nadia, have a wonderful evening, and then we hope that your session engagement is as productive as your session with us today. Have a lovely day, Honorable Nadia.
Very much. And you guys, you can always follow me on LinkedIn, Instagram. I always interact, I always talk. Eli, thank you very much, sir. It was good to have you. See, I didn't charge for this, guys, because he's my friend. He's my friend, so I didn't charge. But thank you. I wish I could stay longer, but I'm really holding my cold. But yeah, good luck and thank you very much. Be blessed and happy Africa Day.
Happy Africa Day, Honorable Nadia. Have a lovely evening. So we have on our session today one more person that I have to introduce to everyone. So we have Mr. Daniel Ayer. Mr. Daniel, we did a lot of introductions, but you were not in yet. And we are so happy that you are finally able to join us. Could you please let us hear from you if you're here and then speak on a topic? We'd like to know if you're online, Honorable Mr. Daniel Ayer.
Hello, can you hear me, Juanita?
Yes, yes, we can hear you. We're so glad you were able to join us today. I know you delayed a little bit, but we're okay. We're okay. We are eager to learn, so we'll wait. I want us to touch a little bit. And Mr. Edward Asari is still on the call. I know a lot of you have a lot of questions for him, and he's willing to wait on that because all of these is correlating to a common subject and a common goal. So don't worry, a lot of your questions will be thrown to both of them, as Honorable Nadia has also left the chat. Mr. Daniel, now we've talked on personal branding, we've talked on leadership styles, and all of these is to a common goal, and that is building the Africa we want. We have people from Kenya, Uganda, Zambia, Somali, all over the world that are listening to us today. You were to talk on building the Africa we want. They are interested in knowing what role do they play in building the Africa that we want from your experience and from the roles that you've played as an African youth.
Okay, thank you very much, Juanita and the team from the foundation for the invitation to be with you. I want to use this opportunity to wish you and everyone a happy Africa Day. I'm actually just coming from I'm speaking to you from Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, which is the headquarters of the African Union Commission. I'm actually just coming from an event to commemorate Africa Day at the Commission. So that's why I'm still dressed up like this. But yeah, thank you very much. So on your question, I think we can address it in multiple angles. And I would try to streamline it within three focus areas. A few hours ago, I sort of put up a cryptic message on what we need to do for this very momentous day. So Africa, the founding of the Organization of African Unity, Africa Day is 61 years now. Last year we celebrated 60 years since the formation of the Organization of Africa Unity. So every year I try to put up a message. So this year I put up a very concentrated but cryptic message, which I'll just quickly read out. So I put out the greatest gift we can give to this momentous day is to, number one, renew our minds. Number two, reform our actions. And number three, revitalize the hope that our founding fathers gave to the African continent and her people. So I'm going to expand on these three areas. So number one, renewing our minds. Now, last week I was in Dakar, Senegal for a very, very critical workshop on the Sahel region. The Sahel region is made up of 16 African countries, so Burkina Faso, Nigeria, Libya, Senegal, Mali, Mauritania, quite a number of countries. And we were basically trying to find, ways and means to, change the narrative around the Sahel. Because right now, the Sahel is plagued with a lot of issues, unconstitutional changes of government, climate change, insurgencies, peace and security issues, etc. Now, one of the key outcomes from that meeting in Senegal was that we need to build a citizen consciousness on why it is important for the citizenry of the Sahel, especially those who find themselves in some of the unfortunate circumstances, like, for example, people who find themselves in concentration camps where they are militants and some of these, unforeseen groups. And we highlighted that it's important to build citizen consciousness on why, they can, why they must, have a certain type of mindset, not even just for the continent, but even for their communities. And one of the key areas that we looked into was the area around education. Now, education is not necessarily, or does not necessarily mean formal education, where you go to an accredited institution, you get a certificate, and then you find yourself in a job or a source of livelihood. Now, education is building a consciousness in your mind first on what you need to, what is available and what you need to do to add value to what is available, right? So, each and every one of us, before we, got into formal education, we were already educated at home before we started school. And now that education was, maybe as a 3-year-old, as a 4-year-old, your parents will tell you that, don't do this, maybe because they didn't do that, right? So now you grow up with that consciousness that I'm not supposed to touch this, I'm not supposed to do that. So now within the context of the Sahel, they are surrounded by a group of people that, conscientize them with things that they are not supposed to do. And they use forceful measures. For example, they'll tell you that if you do not, join our insurgency or our militia, we'll kill your family. So they are forced. And now when these people join these groups, they recruit other people. And now it becomes a facade. Now, I'm giving you these examples because I want us to look at it from the root causes. I don't want to speak in a very generic format. So that's why I'm starting from the Sahel. And within the Sahel, I'm going into a very granular format of communication. Now, the Sahel region is a region made up of 65% young people. So all these countries, they make up 65% of these 16 countries combined, are young people. Now, the Sahel region is also known for, its comparative advantage in extractive resources. They hold 45% of Africa's extractive resources. For example, you look at oil, you look at gold, you look at the metal, the mineral that is used in EV manufacturing. You look at some of these minerals and you see the potential is there, right? The human capital is there, but the orientation is not there. The mind orientation is not there for them to harness, to add value to what they have, and to transcend, that value and pass it on to the next generation. So from that granular point, or from that granular perspective, now let's now move to the next angle, which is reform our actions. Now, according to, I'm a statistics person, sorry, so I'm going to give quite a number of statistics. So according to the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa, UNECA, which is based here in Addis, they put up a research in 2021, and in that research, they had indicated that the opportunity cost for sidelining women economically in Africa is $60 billion a year. So women being, for example, there are countries in Africa where women are not allowed to participate in economically viable ventures. Now, when you add, a lot of these scenarios, Africa loses $60 billion a year by sidelining women. Now, imagine what $60 billion could have done for the continent. We'd have more bankable industries. We'll be able to promote human capital development. We'll be able to advance social amenity access, which is, something that a lot of African countries lack: access to hospitals, access to, educational facilities, access to insurance, access to loans, and in some of these, social amenity ventures. We lose $60 billion a year. Now, let me shift from women and let me move into other sectors. For example, Africa holds more than 60% of the world's solar resources. Now we are moving into renewable energy. Now, out of that 60%, only 3% of global energy investments flow into the continent. Only 3% of our global energy investments flow into the continent. Now, how does that translate into monetary terms? Now, out of I think I can hear a bit of feedback. Sorry. Yeah. There's a bit of feedback. Yeah, okay, sure. It's better now. Thank you. Now, when we translate that into monetary terms, now we have a $90.4 billion global solar economy currently. Now, which means that Africa earns only 2.7 billion out of $90.4 billion. Now, this global solar economy is projected to rise to 215 billion by 2030, which means that if Africa doesn't put the necessary measures in place and the necessary frameworks in place, it means that we will still continue to benefit 3%, whilst we are the continent that contributes the most in terms of our solar capital, our solar potential to the world. So now, there are so many other areas. For example, we go to coffee. The global coffee economy stands at about $468 billion, and Africa earns only $3.6 billion out of it. Now, these are highly bankable areas, that can, change and advance the prosperity and the development of Africa. Now, it's very, very sad that we are not able to reach the height and the level of potential that our forefathers handed over to us. Now, we've experienced 3 transitions since independence. The first transition was the transition to move away from neocolonialism. The second transition was the transition to establish institutions. So establish continental institutions, establish regional institutions, and also establish national institutions. For example, we have the the executive, and the judiciary. Now, we have moved into a transition of promoting promoting a socio-economic regime. Now, Africa has, sort of successfully, gone through, to a certain extent, these 2 transitions, the transition of, moving away from neocolonialism, to a certain extent, the transition of establishing continental institutions like the African Union, which was OAU then, the ECOWASs, the EAC, the SADCs, and all of those things. Now, in this, new transition, that's actually why Agenda 2063 came into the fray. Agenda 2063 was formulated in 2013 by the first woman chairperson of the African Union, Her Excellency Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma from South Africa. So she was the brain, but also one of the movers behind Agenda 2063, which sort of signifies the transition that Africa, seeks to move into the era of socioeconomic regimes and development. Now, as young people, what do we need to do practically to ensure that we, contribute to building a prosperous and sustainable Africa within the context of reforming our actions? Now, I want us to take a deep dive personally into our own, personal, activities, and try to understand what is the opportunity cost of my inaction. Now, to a certain extent, a lot of us are easy to cast blames on other people. We can cast blames on governments. that we voted for. We can cast blames on people, leaders, and some people say that no, these people have failed us. Yes, truly to a certain extent. But I want us to shift the goalposts and look within ourselves that what is the opportunity cost of my inaction? If the opportunity cost of sidelining women is $60 billion a year, now what is the opportunity cost of my action? For some of you, the opportunity cost of your inaction is potentially a $2 billion contribution into Africa's GDP or Africa's development. For some other people, it's $10 billion. Now we look at some of the billionaires that we find ourselves that we know in the world. We look at people like Bill Gates, people like Elon Musk. Imagine if they hadn't taken action. At the end of the day, yes, his net worth may be over $100 billion. But imagine if Elon Musk didn't take the requisite action. That would have been $100 billion lost within the American, economy. So now I want us to take a deep dive within ourselves and look at our actions and weigh them against our inactions and make and take the necessary reforms that we need to take as individuals to ensure that we, start to enhance the potential of our actions. Now, I always say, when I get the opportunity to speak in events, I've had the opportunity to speak in a lot of events across the world, in the US, in a lot of countries across Africa. I've, designed continental conferences on behalf of the African Union, Commission. I've worked on so many projects over the past close to 5 years now, in this space. And one thing really speaks loud to me when I reflect on everything that has happened. There are two groups of people. Now, there are people who express their potential, and there are people who express the fruits of their potential. Now, for example, let's say I can sing, or Juanita can sing. Yes, she'll say, yes, Africa, yes, Africa. That is beautiful.
I can actually sing.
Yes, yes, so she'll sing, yes, Africa. That's beautiful. That is expressing her potential. Now, the next level, expressing the fruit of her potential, is if she gets to the point of adding value to her music. So going to a studio, recording the music, translating the music into various sellable or marketable formats. Now at the end of the day, remittances from her music would not just come to her. It would also help other people, promote livelihoods for other people. The producer who's producing your music, he will get something from it. Your family, that your immediate family, they'll get something from your music. So many people that are connected to you as an ecosystem would get a source of livelihood, from you moving from just singing to adding value to your singing. Now, finally, on this question, revitalizing the hope that our founding fathers gave to the African continent and the people. Now, I believe some of you, if not all of you, know the founding fathers of Pan-Africanism, people like Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, Julius Nyerere, Kenneth Kaunda from Zambia, and all these people who some of them shed their blood to ensure that we move away from neocolonialism. Now, how do we revitalize the hope that our founding fathers gave to the African continent? We revitalize the hope by reflection. Now, how do you reflect? You don't reflect without knowledge. Now, I'm not just speaking about just any knowledge that you just find. I'm speaking about targeted knowledge. Dr. Kwame Nkrumah has an archive of speeches that he wrote. There are a couple of videos that you can find about him. And Nyerere and some of our founding fathers. You go to the archives, you find that information, you listen to it carefully, or with a sense of observation. You reflect on it, but that's not the end of it all. At the end of the day, you draw revelation from it that you add to your convictions. Now, everybody has a personal conviction. I believe Honorable Nadia, my dear friend, was speaking about, not copying. And I fully agree with it that everyone has a comparative advantage. But it's very, very important to add to your convictions. Convictions without strategy, without a philosophy, without an ideology, I'm sorry, it will not take you very, very far. So now revitalizing is by going back, placing yourself under the mentorship of what was, happening back there, deriving revelation from it. Now, once you derive revelation from it, you apply it in your life first before you extend what you've learned in that experience. Don't just study to extend, study to show yourself approved. First, apply what you've studied, and then afterwards, you reflect the learnings from what you've studied to other people. So it's also very important for us to revitalize that hope that our founding fathers gave to the African continent. It is through them that we have Agenda 2063. It is through them that we have the African Union. It is through them that we have, the AFCFTA. It is through them that we have the African Union Free Movement Protocol. It is through them that we have everything that we are aspiring to achieve in our time and in our generation. I'll stop here and hand over to Juanita to take over. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Daniel. Thank you so much, Daniel. I know he has given us a lot of percentages and numbers. I'm not good with the numbers, but I was able to make sense of everything that he said because he was able to explain further, a deep dive into where he's coming from and what we have to do moving forward. Now, we have Mr. Daniel, and Edward Asare on board. There are a lot of questions coming in. Mr. Daniel, before I move on to Mr. Edward, because there are also ones waiting for him, you talk of the role the African youth can play in building the Africa that we want. You touched on our past, our ancestry, what they did, the sacrifices that they made, and how involving women in our economic can also improve on our situations and everything. I would like to find out, as somebody who has been in a huge, you've gone on a lot of platforms internationally, you've represented a lot of youth in different organizations. What are the specific things the youth in Africa should be looking to develop their skills in building the Africa that we want? You've engaged a lot of international people. What areas do you think here in Africa the youth should be engaged more into, to try and find more knowledge about, to help them understand the true meaning of what we are building and the role that they can play? What are the areas they should be looking out for? I believe you're muted, but yes.
Sorry. So there are so many areas that enhance development. A few weeks ago at the World Bank IDA meetings in Nairobi, Kenya, President Museveni, President of Uganda, His Excellency, in his speech, he made a very, very, I would say a very reflective assertion that I think we should look towards. So he said something. He said, one, Africa does not need sustainable development at this point. What we need is socioeconomic transformation. Now, he further, expanded by saying that socioeconomic transformation can only be realized if investments are made in the growth factors. So, for example, before you see the fruit, you need to understand the growth factors. Now, what is the key growth factor? It's the seed. So if it's an orange fruit, the growth factor is the seed. Now, how do you turn the seed into fruit? You put the seed on the ground, you water it, you ensure that it's incubated within the right conditions. Then you start to see it, it buds, the stems, mature, the leaves start to green, it becomes a tree, and then the fruit starts, manifesting. So we need to understand what are the growth factors as young people. Now, there are so many growth factors. For example, we in Africa, we have a protocol, the African Union Protocol on free movement of persons. We don't have free movement in Africa, and it's affecting us. And I'll give an explanation why I'm saying that. Now, currently, let me take us back to one of the key missions of the establishment of the regional economic communities. The REC, so ECOWAS is the regional economic community. The EAC, East African Community, is also a regional economic community representing the East African region. SADC is for Southern Africa. The list goes on and on. Now, one of the key objectives of regional economic communities was to collectively contribute 3%, at least 3% to global trade. Now, they had a timeline to reach it. And by the time the African Union was formulated in 2002, they had reached that target. Collectively as regional economy, that was way before the AfCFTA came into force. They contributed 3% to global trade. Now, 2002 to 2024 is how many years? It's about 22 years, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, it's about 22 years. Now, 22 years afterwards, Africa still contributes 3% to global trade. Within the continent, we contribute just around 18%. Now, compare that to Singapore. Singapore is a very small country. For anyone who's been to Singapore, I've never been there before. Singapore contributes 7% to global trade. This small country contributes 7% to global trade. The inter-Africa trade is 18%, right? Now, intra-Europe trade is 65%. The European Union, intra-Europe trade is 65%. Intra-America trade, I'm not speaking about the USA, I'm speaking about America as a conglomerate, is 55%, right? Now, what are the growth factors that enhance their enhance their contribution to inter-regional trade, but also, to global trade? Free movement. Now, for those who have been to Europe, if you have the Schengen passport, you have the opportunity to travel across, all the Schengen countries. Even as someone who is not even a citizen of Europe, as someone who is a citizen of another country. But in Africa, unfortunately, it's impossible. Only only 4 African countries have ratified the AU Protocol on Free Movement of Persons. Even Ghana, we've not ratified that agreement. We need 15 African countries for that agreement to come into force, right? So now, that's it from the root cause. We don't have free movement of people. Now, let us move from the root causes to now a more structural way of looking at things. Let's look at our transport infrastructure. We don't have railway infrastructure to help us transcend from one country to the other country. But in Europe, that infrastructure is there. You can travel via train from France to Denmark, to even to the UK. You can travel via railway line. Now, beyond the what do you call it? Transport infrastructure, let's look at our industries. We don't have so many industries in our continent. In the whole of Africa, we only have one fully industrialized country, and that's South Africa. South Africa is the only country in a 55-member nation that is fully industrialized. So now, all of these things, yes, they are big gaps, but they are also growth factors. So as a young person, don't just look at it as an opportunity. And that's why you see, I like how Edward and Nadia, articulated their points. Don't just look at it as a leader who is just there speaking on panels, influencing people, being a motive. It's much more than that. There are real practical things that need to be done. That's why I'm opening. I'm not opening, but that's why I'm sort of I'm opening up these things for you to know the reality on the ground.
Yes.
So yeah. I mean, in a nutshell, for a young person, look at these gaps, research, apply yourself to research. Whether you're a lawyer, whether you are an engineer, whether you're a doctor, apply yourself to research in the area that maybe you studied in school that you want to pursue beyond school. Identify the gaps from a global level or from a global standpoint, from a continental standpoint, from a regional standpoint. So continental, I mean African Union. Regional, if you are from a West African country, West Africa. And then from a national standpoint, I'm not done yet. From the national standpoint, you now go into from a community standpoint. So you need to identify the gap. So for example, let's say you are in a Adenta constituency. How many doctors are in Adenta constituency to the patient, doctor to patient ratio? The World Health Organization is saying that for every 100,000 people, right? The least amount of psychiatrists or mental health healthcare professionals should be 100. But in Africa, we have 10 to 100,000 people. So in every field you find yourself in, there's a gap that you can fill. That's why I started from all these points. So I'll stop here. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Daniel. Mr. Daniel said, find the gap. You need to find the gap in the industry you're interested in. Do more research and find out the role that you can play in your community, in your country, and globally as well. He's very educative, and as you know where he stands right now, his advice is something you should gladly take and look up to. Now, before we come back to Mr. Daniel, Mr. Edward Asare, are you on the call with us? We know we've made you wait for such a long time, but we have a few questions. We have a few more questions, and Mr. Daniel, for you as well, we have a few more questions, but we have about 30 minutes left to wrap up our session for today, and I will just shoot to the question. Mr. Edward Asare, a question from Salako Ademi Moses. He said, in building a strong and remarkable online personal branding, do I have to make use of all my social media platforms for the branding process to show connectivity? For example, if I choose to brand on something related to finance, is it compulsory that all my social media platform is related to that field? I think he's curious about how to utilize all his social media platform, if you should just target it to one specific thing that he's interested in. Can you share any details on that?
Thank you very much. Before I even answer that, I want to issue a disclaimer that in this world, there's no one size fits all for every problem. And hence, I would like to encourage everybody here that everything I say, I want you to also judge it with your own discretion and belief system. Pick the thing that you think would work for you, and the thing that really doesn't sit well with you think will not help you in your journey, you discard it off, because I'm of a strong belief that we all have different paths in this life, but then I'm going to share with you what worked for me, see whether it will work for you, and then use it. So for me, I believe in using as many social media platforms as possible in your branding process. The reason is because, one, it increases your visibility on all of these platforms. People can easily find you on these platforms. The fact that you're on LinkedIn and not on Instagram means that somebody could miss out on knowing who you are and your offerings on that platform because you are not there. Another reason is you might never know. You might become, a global figure in just some few days or weeks or years to come. Or even with the little influence you have right now, if you only are present on one platform, somebody could just create a parody account for you on, let's say, Facebook, doing bad stuff with it. So it is better for you to take charge of all of these platforms and use them appropriately. The good news is that you can actually cross-post. So the post that you made on LinkedIn, you can just modify it a little bit for your Instagram, for your Facebook, for your Twitter, for your Thread. Post on all of them, at the same time, or you can actually have a timetable to guide you in your posting. Also, it is very important for you to be known for something. Of course, you can write about your lifestyle, the things that people can relate to, but you have to be known for something. If people come to your pages, you know that, okay, this person is this person is this. You have to be known for something. All right. And of course, when you start posting, you'll be able to find your mojo and find the area that you are supposed to focus on more. I hope I'm clear.
Yes, Mr. Edward, that was very, very clear. I do have a few more questions for you.
Let's go.
So, how does personal branding impact one's leadership journey and opportunities for advancement?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Once again, I want to issue a disclaimer that my views might slightly differ from the presentations or the offerings of the others. This is not in a way trying to pour water on whatever they said. Everything everybody said is legit. And therefore, you are supposed to use your own discretion, your own belief system to see how it works for you. I am a strong believer that every single one of you here, all 86 people here, you are all leaders. Everybody here, you are a leader. Firdaus, you are a leader. Geoffrey, you are a leader. Eric, you are a leader. Aminata, you are a leader. Everybody here is a leader. I want you to believe that strongly. I want you to go on a journey right now. Believe that you are a leader. Even if you don't have a position, even if you are not the MD, even if you are not the CEO, even if you are not the chairman, having the thought process of a leader is very important for you in your success in this life. Even if you are not a team lead at your workplace, there is a way that you think. There is a way that you take decisions and relate with people that only leaders can do that. Leadership is basically influence. If you have the ability to influence actions and decisions, take responsibility, I can say well that you are a leader. You have to start, first of all, by leading yourself. And that is why this personal branding thing I talked about, I said it is a call to responsibility. So the moment you make up your mind that, hey, I'm going to start my personal branding process, it is you saying that, hey, I'm going to start taking responsibility for my life. I'm going to start leading my life where I want it to go. Be a leader. Leaders are always looking at a goal. Leaders have a goal. They have a purpose. They have something they are looking for. They are looking for. Now, look, let me say another thing too. Leaders don't look for followers. So if you are here, you think that because you don't have anybody following you, it means that you are not a leader. That is wrong. You are wrong. You've got it wrong. Leaders have purpose. And I want you to focus on the purpose. Now, guess what? Followers find leaders. The moment you start following your purpose, just watch people carefully. The moment you have a passion, you're following it religiously, even at your workplace, in your office, you notice that people start gravitating towards you. And that is the approach you're supposed to use for your personal branding as well. It is a call to responsibility. Please. So from today, go and see yourself as a leader. Go and read on leadership. Go on YouTube. Go and watch videos on John C. Maxwell. Look at how he talks about leadership. Okay, you here, you are a leader. Go and read. I don't have much time to talk about that, my lady. Let's go on.
Yes, I see a lot of trooping comments coming in on that as well. We still have a lot of questions. 2 more questions. We'll give some to Mr. Daniel, and then we'll give the rest to Mr. Edward. Mr. Edward, I would like to ask this question. Can you discuss any challenges that you faced in building your personal brand? Because we've seen you, Mr. Edward, we literally see you on LinkedIn all over in the Ghanaian community. For a person, when I go on LinkedIn, I hit my LinkedIn, my first notification comes is Edward Asari. He's advising, he's coaching, he's on this conference, he's teaching the youth this. What are the challenges that you faced that you were able to overcome to still be the brand that you have created for yourself in the mainstream?
In this personal journey of life, you have so many people who have opinions about your life. Everybody has something to say about your life. You have to know whose opinion matters that you take. Because on this personal branding journey, you would have a lot of people giving you advice on how to live your life. Do you understand? But life is a personal calling thing. And deep down within your heart, Abe, Fliss, Adam, John, Paul, deep down within your heart, you have that conviction, you have that thing there. So you have to know how to weigh the opinions and the advice people give you and see whether this one really sits with me. Because if you do not do that and you don't have a goal, you'll be swayed left and right. Another thing is that what will people say? Because of what will people say, a lot of you here are not taking your personal branding seriously because you are worried about what people will say. The moment I lost hold of what will people say about me, that is when I got my most power. That is when I realized how powerful I could be. Look, I'm here right now. I feel fulfilled in life because to me, I am on my track of fulfilling my purpose and my destiny. And I want you to have the same mindset. The reason why so many of you here are worried about what people will say is because you have a spotlight effect. If you've ever been to a show before, a musical concert, and the musician is on stage, you realize that they put a spotlight on him and they dim the light in the whole auditorium. That is how so many of you here are living your life, thinking that the whole world is watching you, thinking that everybody is watching your every step. And because of that, you are very careful about what you do and what you say and however you live your life. It is very important to get the opinion of others, but please, and please again, you are the least topic on people's minds when they go about their life duties. You think people are thinking about, let me ask you a question right now. Who are you thinking about right now? Who are you thinking about? Who is the most dominant topic in your head right now? Abe, Rosita, Eric, Fridaus. You are thinking about yourself the most. That should tell you that nobody is really paying attention to you. So when you are scared about what people are going to say about you in this your personal journey, you are rather sabotaging yourself because at the end of the day, nobody is really listening to you. People are also thinking about their own lives. And that is why I want you to go ahead today and take your personal development journey seriously because at the end of the day, nobody's really listening to you like that. And the moment I got hold of that, I got rid of that, I found my mojo. The third one, then I'll end. The third one, let go of this thing. How do you call it? Entitlement mentality. Entitlement. Okay? And this is also part of the personal branding journey. Entitlement is the feeling that people owe you stuff. People are supposed to bring you stuff. So because of that, you are just there in your corner waiting for things to find you. But being intentional about your journey as a personal branding activity is saying that, well, people can do things for me, but they don't owe me anything. Because of this, I am going out of my way to take this thing seriously. My brother doesn't owe me, my father doesn't owe me, my pastor doesn't owe me, nobody owes you anything in this world. The world will only reward you on the things that you opt to take and take steps on today. So as you live here today, please have this mentality that you are responsible for your own life. You're responsible for the opportunities that come your way. If by the grace of God, somebody brings you an opportunity, bless them, thank God for their lives, but know that they never owe you anything. Thank you.
Nobody owes you anything, Mr. Edward. That's such a lovely presentation, and you've given us a deep delve into what branding is about, how we are able to figure out who we are, the value we bring to the table, and how we navigate with the comments and the opinions of other people into our life. We are so much grateful for your presence here today. And we do have ice-breaking sessions. Mr. Edward, yes, you may.
Can I give a last before you go? This is a short one.
Yes,
okay?
Yes, Mr. Edward, you may.
Another disclaimer, please. Please, there is nothing wrong with looking up to somebody to learn from them. I'm sorry if there is nothing wrong looking up to somebody to learn from. There's nothing new under the sun. And that is why mentorship is there. There is something called social learning theory. Social learning theory says that you imitate someone, you watch them, imitate their actions till they become perfect at what they do. That's why we have mentorship. That's why we have discipleship. Even in the Bible, it's there. At workplaces, that's why we have what? Internships. What do? You watch your leader do something over and over again. You imitate it over and over again. And what? You also become a master. So in this your personal development or personal branding journey, if you're finding it hard to know where to start from, you can get somebody who is doing so well in their field that you admire. There is nothing wrong with it. So let's say I admire Alfred Ely so much about what he does. It is not jealousy. It is called what? Admiration. And you yearn to be like him. Okay? You can actually study Alfred, emulate him till you become perfect in your own unique way. So please, this is the thing. You spot somebody who is doing so well in their personal branding journey, emulate what they do, okay? And then become perfect in your own unique way. This is not to say that you become a duplicate of the person. Because if there is no mentor, if there is no, how do you call it, a model to look up to, then what are you learning to become? Because the whole essence of learning is to have a model to look like. So if you are here today and you want to be like Juanita, I go to Juanita, I see how she posts, I see her language, I see how she speaks, I see how she dresses. I might not end up having a ponytail, but I might end up dressing well in my cornrow. I might not end up having beard like Alfred, but I can have my smooth face, but have influence in my space. I cannot end up going the world like Daniel does, but in my company, I can be able to influence people in my space, even by studying what Daniel does. We call it social learning theory. It is not becoming a carbon copy of someone, but you study somebody and study their mannerisms to the extent that you are able to also find your mojo. You become the best you. It doesn't make you that duplicate. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Edward. Before you leave, I know we've kept you here for long. There's always an icebreaker session question that we ask our guests right before they leave, just to ease up the room a little bit. So we would like to ask you just this question. What is a talent that you have that your audience do not know of? What is it, apart from your brand representation? What do you have with you that nobody knows you can do?
I sing. I sing. Don't ask me to sing.
Mr. Edward sings so lovely. I'm sure we'll find time and listen to you sing.
Right,
This has been amazing. Now we know. If you don't know, now you know. Thank you so much for the time with us, Mr. Edward. It was a lovely session, and I know people are willing and ready to connect with you on LinkedIn, on Instagram, Facebook, wherever you find Mr. Edward. He said broaden your visibility, and he has already broadened his for you to reach out to him.
You can Google my name and then you can see all my social media platforms or there. Just Google Edward Asare and then I follow back and I connect back as well.
Yes, he does connect back. Thank you so much, Mr. Edward, for your time. Yeah, thank you so much. Mr. Daniel, I know we only have a few minutes left, but somebody dropped a question for you that I want to ask just before you leave, if you may. Mr. Daniel, are you still with us, please?
I'm here.
Thank you so much, Mr. Daniel, for waiting. So I'm trying so much to scroll up to the questions because there's a lot of comments and questions trooping in. From Emmanuel Simba, he said, Mr. Daniel, you are so much vested in statistics, and that really helps us know your sectoral stand as Africans. Thank you. Now, my question is, you talked of finding the gap in the sector you're in or the field you studied, and that's very key. I, for one, am in healthcare, and many a time you find the gap, especially in research. But the challenge is majorly funding. How can one overcome or go around that to glean results that would lead to professional growth? I'm thinking this question was well put. So just 2 minutes, if you may, just give him an answer, and I'm sure he will find you on LinkedIn to get more details on that as well.
Sure. Thank you very much for the question. So I'll just say there are two ways. There are traditional ways of accessing funding. There's a website called Opportunities for Young Africans or something, where they post daily opportunities where you can have access to opportunities to submit your proposals for funding in the field you find yourself in. But there are also non-traditional ways of securing funding, which to me is actually, I would say, much more valuable in the time we find ourselves in. Now, I'll give an example, but not that example is not within the context of funding. Now, my entire work life, I've literally done just 1 or 2 interviews my entire work life. All the other work opportunities I've gotten are through recommendations. Even my current work with the African Union Special Envoy on Youth was through a recommendation by a very high-level person, an advisor to the president of a Southern African country. She hosted the Youth Envoy when she was appointed in 2021, and told her about me, that I'm competent and I can add a lot of value to the office. Long story short, over 2 years now, and we are still, in it. We are still working things out for young people of the continent. So for one, I would recommend non-traditional ways of funding but not, let me just put it that way. Definitely, yes, we all have needs, we all have wants and a lot of these things. But Edward really spoke about networking. Nadia also spoke about networking. I think this is one key area that a lot of us, or a lot of young people, need to build capacity on. It's not just going, saying hi, taking a picture, asking for their number, asking for their LinkedIn, which is good, which is a good way of, starting something. It's a good foundation. But beyond that, you also need to show something, right? So, for example, last year I met the president of Kenya 3 times. Now, the first time we're in a room together at the AU Summit. We together with my boss, we spoke to him, etc. Then I met him again in Kenya. Now, this time meeting him, it was to welcome him. I was part of those who were, who was selected to welcome him. Now, beyond that, I was in New York last after the Kenya meeting for UNGA for the UN General Assembly. Then he came when at an event together with my boss, and he remembered us. So now you see how it is, right? He remembered us and he thanked us for participating in an event that their government organized. So it's not just about taking numbers, taking pictures and a lot of these things. Beyond that, what is out there? What are you putting out there? That people will see and say that, this person is valuable. I'm not even speaking about settings. I'm not speaking about, because now I tell people that I don't use ChatGPT. So those who know me, when they see my captions, one time someone asked, I said, no, I don't know. It's not, I can learn how to use it, but I was oriented and mentored in a way that I have to work hard to get, to find, a creative way of getting what I need to get. Right. So at the end of the day, you need to genuinely, valuably put yourself out there in a way, not settings, not I attended this, I did this, I did that, I did that. Yes, all those things are nice, all those things are important, but I'm talking about real, true value, not settings. See, a lot of young people do settings, you see, and at the end of the day, you might get the opportunity, but you would be what do you call it? Your true self will be revealed. I'll give this last two examples before handing over to you. I spoke about the traditional route, which a lot of people do, but the non-traditional one is the one that I would highly recommend. Now, one time, actually a few months ago, last year, let me start from last year. Last year, I was in an Honorable Nadia recommended me for an event in Kenya, fully, sponsored event. They sponsored me, they brought me, they put me on a panel. I came to the panel and, I prepared myself intellectually and all of those things. But when I got into the room, I assessed the room and I realized, and then I was like, should I still go through with what I was doing? Then I just felt in me that, no, Daniel, change the approach. Now, what did I do? I came into the room. Yes, I gave some intellectual pointers and insights, but then I had a strong inclination to change, to shift the way, I presented. Now, I don't know if you can see. Yes, you can see can you see, Juanita? Confirm if you can see the bottle.
We can see and a knife as well, if you're supposed to see
Yes,
that.
wonderful. So when I went to the panel, this is what I did. I took a bottle. I didn't have a knife, so I had the mic. So I took a bottle and I demonstrated something to them. I said one day, something happened. I wanted a cold drink. And I had a drink that was, room temperature. So I took the drink and I started looking for ice, to chill up the drink. Now I went to the refrigerator, tried to find ice. I didn't find ice. So after, a deep dive, I found a bottle. You see how this bottle is iced up? I found a
Yeah.
bottle like this, fully iced up. I said, okay, let me use the strategy of, breaking open the bottle and taking ice from it. It was a water bottle. So I took a knife and then I started hitting. Pa, 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 pa. So while I was hitting, I noticed that the ice started to crack and started to break. So I started, trying to use the knife to cut through it. And it was a difficulty. It took me a lot of time. So I put the knife down and then I went to the drawer and I picked the bread knife. Many of you who know the bread knife, that the bread knife has a much sharper edge. So I just started in 2 slices. The bottle, broke open. And I learned a deep lesson. What's the lesson I learned in it? That, you may be a knife, but it doesn't mean that you can cut through every bottle. There are more seasoned people than you, who are more sharpened, who have more experiences. Now, what are you supposed to do? Align yourself to these people. Things that are difficult for you, it is just a network away. Few years ago, there were certain people, I didn't know any politician, nobody. I was just the community that I had. But few years down the line, my friends are children of billionaires. I can't mention names for context, but my friends are billionaires. My friends are high-level politicians, ministers. Phone calls away. I can literally pick up a phone and call them, and we just have random conversations. Some of them have even given me the opportunity to speak to their parents, and their parents even have names for me. Few years down the line, a few months ago, I was, invited to the White House. I was in the White House in March, together with my boss. We were hosted by the Office of the Vice President. Now, one of the key contributing factors, beyond maybe someone would say intellectual prowess and all of these things, was this theory. I realized that there are certain things that my knife couldn't cut. I needed to align myself, to people that are more sharpened, more seasoned than me. Learn from them, not copy, but learn something that I can add to what I have. The end with the scripture. Bible says that add to your faith virtue, add to your virtue, and keep adding until you reach that point of stature and stability. Then you'll be able to. So I'm saying all of these things just to give you context into some of the non-traditional ways of, getting some of the things that you think would enhance your calling. Traditional methods will always be there, but to be honest with you, non-traditional methods can escalate a lot of things in your life that traditional methods will take a longer period of time. So yeah, I hope my humble contribution, added or gave a perspective or an answer to the question that you asked.
Yes. I'm sorry, my phone goes.
And then
Go on.
one more thing. Now, I don't know if you know this thing. There's a drug called effervescent vitamin C. How many of you know? I'm sure you know about the vitamin C that when you put in water, it breaks down into smaller components, and then it colors the water, and then you can drink it. Now, I want to give this practical example to everyone. Now, for those of you who have, that if it's around, I had it, but I used it up when I was in Dakar. Now, if you have some at home, right? Break it in.
I believe you're muted. Yes.
Sorry. Now, if you get to the house, if you have some, break it into smaller components. Find 2 or 3 glasses filled with water, and then put the smaller components in the water. You notice something that even a smaller component of this small effervescent vitamin C can, work in a full glass of water, which means that your small contributions are valid. Now, within that small vitamin C, there are so many components within it. Now, beyond visibly seeing the vitamin C color the water and all of those things, the real impact is when you consume it, when you drink the vitamin C, it adds to the vitality of your body, the vitality of your organs. So now see beyond what is visible, and look at what is invincible. What your words, what impact or what effect do they add to people from the invincible angle that further manifests in a visible angle? So I want each and every one of us to try this, when we get out, if we're at home, if you have this, and let it speak to you. Thank you very much. Asante
Thank
sana. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you so much, Mr. Daniel. My room, the light is flickering, but I do apologize for that. That was such an insightful session. We are grateful for your time here, even though you're trooping other prioritized engagement. You still made time to give us statistics and numbers and help us understand the role we play in building the Africa that we want and the value that we need to portray. Instead of just networking with people and taking pictures, we should offer some value. From my takeaway from this session today has been, and I'm sure a lot of us have takeaways, you can type it in the chat box if you have any specific takeaways that you could pick from Daniel's presentation, Edward's presentation, Honorable Nadia's presentation as well. Mine would be from Mr. Daniel is, don't just network and take pictures with these people, have some value. Now, learn from other leaders that have made it, tweak it a little bit so that you can reference on it and say that this is my field and I got it from this person. Make sure that before you put yourself in the midst of networking with these people, they are able to see what you have. And then when they network with you, they say, okay, you are this, you do that, and I can work with you on something. Also remember that networking helps you to get a lot of recommendations from people. So if you don't think anyone is watching you or is seeing what you're doing, people do see what you're doing. Keep doing a lot of research on the field that you're interested in. That is what has helped him to get to where he is today. And as you can hear from everything he said, he's very knowledgeable on everything that he mentioned. And we are so, so grateful that you had time to speak with us today, Mr. Daniel. And we know that a lot of people would love to connect with you. You can connect with him on LinkedIn. You can connect with him on Instagram. I cannot speak for him if he responds to everything, but I'm sure he can tell us if he responds to all your messages. We couldn't read out all the messages that you had and the questions, but he is willing to answer them when he is free from other engagements. Mr. Daniel, before you also leave, I have one ice-breaking question for you.
Sure.
Okay, Mr. Daniel. Now, I think I might give you two. One, if you were given the chance to have a dinner with someone dead or alive, who would it be?
I would say Kwame Nkrumah, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah.
Okay.
Well, I mean, as a Christian, Jesus Christ would have been the best fit, but I think as a human environment, a human example, beyond Jesus Christ, would be Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. And I'll just give a brief reason why. Dr. Kwame Nkrumah was someone who survived 7 assassination attempts.
Miracle.
Now, for many of us, we give up easily. After, imagine 7. The first one, he survived it. He kept preaching African unity, African, what do you call it, integration. Second one, he kept preaching African unity, African integration. Third one, he kept preaching African unity, African prosperity. Fourth one, then he even, further went and said, let's create African institutions. Fifth one,
Yeah.
Sixth one, seventh one, he said he survived 7 assassination attempts, and he did not give up. The Africa we are seeing now, which obviously some people have, have spoilt, and have, corrupted, this great vision that was passed on to us. It came through a lot of, resilience. It came through a lot of bloodshed. So
Yeah.
yes, definitely Dr. Kwame Nkrumah.
Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, it is. I'm sure the Lord Jesus will pardon you because you already made it clear why you said Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. So the second question would be, would you rather have the ability to read minds or to teleport? Choose one.
I think I think read minds. Reason
Okay.
being that the Bible says that as a man thinketh, so is he. So
Yes.
you see a man act in a certain way, you need to understand the person's orientation. But beyond the person's orientation, you need to understand where the person was incubated. So understanding these 2 angles to the person acting the way he or she is acting. So I think reading minds is something that I'll be keen on doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Daniel. Thank you, everyone, for joining our session today. This has just been day 1 of 4 days conference from the African Young Leaders Foundation. And if you enjoyed this session, you cannot wait to see all the other sessions that are lined up for you. Tomorrow, we have Transformative Leadership for Sustainable Development in Africa, Empowering a New Generation. We have day 2, and I am going to say I'm promising you, it's going to be
Juanita?
another wonderful session. Yes.
Yeah, sorry, I forgot to add. So we have their African Union documents. I think go to the website, African Union. There we have youth development documents. We have the
Yes.
African Youth Charter. Some
Yeah.
countries, there are 14 countries that have not ratified it. So if your country is not part of those 14 countries, you know what to do. Inaction, no development. Action, development. So we have that. We have so many. For example, one of the articles in the African Youth Charter, Article 11, speaks about the ensuring that young people are participate in decision-making processes. So if your country has ratified the African Youth Charter, they are legally bound to ensure that these principles become a reality. So you can hold them accountable that yes, you ratified, so you have to make it happen. But you first need to know. The knowledge component is also very important. So go to the website. We also have the Continental Framework on Youth, Peace and Security. We have the African Union Youth social media platforms. Follow, get informed. And once you are informed, you can take calculated, but impactful actions. Thank you. Sorry for
Thank you.
I just thought to add this.
No, it's a platform. We are glad you shared it with us. We are willing and we are ready to learn from you, Mr. Daniel. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone who joined us today from Uganda, Kenya, Nigeria, Pakistan. We have everyone from all these wonderful countries, and we are glad to have you join us through all these 2 powerful sessions with Honorable Nadia, Edward Asari, and Daniel. My name is Juanita Gyamfi. I am a corporate communications expert and a mental health advocate. If you did love the session today and you have any more questions, whether it's to me, it's to Mr. Daniel, Nadia, or Edward, we are more than willing to respond to you on our LinkedIn pages. You can also visit African Young Leaders Foundation on Instagram, on LinkedIn, on Facebook, and every other platform, because we are ready to teach you more. Join hands together with us to make the youth of Africa great. Again, if you want to connect with anybody else you met on this platform, feel free to look for them on other social media platforms. You have a lot of names in our chat box here. You can pick a few of them. Those that had opinions, comments, you want to pick their mind, do so, and know that we all gathered here for a common cause, and is the perfect place to meet that person you can collaborate with to make Africa great. This was the first day of the African Young Leaders Conference, and we are so delighted to have you here. Have a wonderful evening, and we pray that the mighty God will protect you as you continue to do your work in your life and in your path of being a great leader in the community and in the country. Thank you once again. Have a lovely day, everyone.
Thank you very much. Have a lovely day, and good to see you, Alfred.
Good to see you. Bye.
Bye, guys. Oh,
Good day,
lovely.
good day.
You see everybody
Bye.
now. You can turn your camera
Thank you.
on. You can just say hi, do anything. Bye.
Wow.
Good night.
Thank you, guys. Good night.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Daniel.
I feel like leaving now.
Okay, thank you.
Feel free. We're leaving.
You don't want to go.
Mami rwose.
Dio.